What's up everybody, it's Sean here and I'm back today to give you a review of the Air Jordan 23 Retro from the Lunar New Year or Chinese New Year pack in this year of the rabbit colorway. Today's video is sponsored by Heflux. When it comes to sneakers, comfort is king. So when you buy a pair of shoes and find out they're uncomfortable, one of the easiest fixes is to swap out the insoles. So that's where Heflux comes into play. If you check out their website, which I've linked down below in the description box, you'll see they sell a variety of eTPU insoles, which really is the same material you'll find inside Adidas Boost. So if you guys are curious to try a pair for yourself, be sure to use the code SEANGO at checkout and get 15% off your entire purchase, and be sure to tell them I sent you. So the Air Jordan 23 is a model that debuted back in 2008, and since then the retros of this model have been pretty few and far between. And for myself, I'm a huge fan of the Air Jordan 23. They originally released just a couple years into when I first started buying sneakers, and I had a ton of those Air Jordan 23s in my collection. So whenever Jordan Brand releases a new Jordan 23, that's always going to catch my eye. So for this pair, this is part of Jordan Brand's Lunar New Year or Chinese New Year pack, which celebrates the year of the rabbit. And this pair, from what I know at least, never released here in North America. I believe they only released in Asia, but correct me if I'm wrong, and they released sometime in January of this year. So the retail price for this pair, at least from what I can see on the sneaker websites and blogs, should have cost $260 US, which is about 350 Canadian dollars, which to be honest is pretty damn high. And the official colorway for this shoe is light silver, challenge red, ivory, metallic gold, and white. So the Air Jordan 23, for those who aren't familiar with this model, of course being the 23rd signature sneaker in Michael Jordan's line, this made it a huge deal back in the day. So of course, this was designed by the legendary Tinker Hatfield, and this shoe was all about luxury. So let's dive into the details of this shoe, but before we do that, here's a quick look at the box. So this comes in this pastel green colored cardboard box. We have this Jumpman logo on the top, which kind of reminds me of marble. So diving into the details of the Jordan 23, starting things off with the toe box. So this is covered in a lightly tumbled white colored leather. To the eye and to the touch, this looks and feels like it's a nice genuine cut of leather. And then underneath this, surrounding the edge of the toe box, we have another leather overlay, which is done in this pale grayish teal sort of tone, and printed on we have Michael Jordan's signature, which is done in this gold finish. Next to this, covering the sides of the toe box, here you'll see how the midsole chassis wraps up and onto the top of the shoe, which helps with containment and support for the sides of your feet. And then next to this, covering the majority of the back end of the shoe, this is covered in leather, which is once again done in that pale grayish teal sort of tone, and we have this unique embroidery which flows through this entire panel. The very top eyelet is done in this metallic gold finish, and then surrounding the top portion of the ankle collar area, this is covered in what feels like a synthetic suede, almost like a microfiber sort of finish, and this is done in this light gray color. And then sticking out the back of the shoe, just like any other Air Jordan 23, we have this fin, which is crafted using the same leather that was found on the sides of the shoe, and we have this gold colored contrast stitching. As far as the laces go, so these come with one lace option, and they're a thin rope style lace in white. But they do come with these metallic lace tips, which adds to the whole premium feel of the sneaker. You can see the laces intertwine through these nylon eyelets as well, which are also done in white. And then underneath this, the tongue of the shoe is crafted using that same tumbled white leather, but running across the entire length of the shoe, we have these perforations which helps with airflow and ventilation. And then on the very top of the tongue, we have this red colored Lunar New Year branding. On the back of the tongue, you'll see we have this graphic of a rabbit. And then underneath this, the underside of the tongue, this is finished in this quilted style, which again is a nod to the whole luxurious feel of the sneaker. The same can be said about the inner collar of the shoe as well. So this is also stitched in that same quilted finish, and there's additional padding surrounding the back portion of the Achilles area. This is a dual density foam setup, and these pods around the back of the shoe almost feels like memory foam. Taking out the insoles, so these come with a polyurethane foam insole. It's covered in this red color textile on top, and we have this Chinese inspired branding on the heel. And if I flip the insole over to the other side, you'll see there's an additional reinforcement of foam padding underneath the heel for impact protection. So the upper of the Air Jordan 23 sits atop a full-length Phylon foam midsole, which is encased within this transparent TPU chassis. So this chassis or shell is given a slight sparkly finish, and then encased within the midsole but not visible to the eye, there's a full-length Nike Zoom Air unit as well. Turning the shoe over to the bottom, so you can see the outsole here is constructed out of a white colored rubber. The traction pattern is inspired by Michael Jordan's fingerprint, and the Air Jordan 23 also incorporates Jordan Brand's IPS technology, which stands for Independent Podular Suspension, which is basically these circular pods which sit right underneath the rubber, and depending on the placement of these pods, it can range from a stiffer setup, for example on the forefoot, and more of a softer sort of foam used, especially on the heel. And then right in the middle, underneath this TPU layer, we have a carbon fiber shank plate as well, and this is there to help with torsional rigidity and mid-foot support. So that breaks down the look and the construction of these Air Jordan 23s. And for those wondering about sizing, so my feet measures as a true size 10, slightly on the wider side, meaning when I step on a branded device at a shoe store, my foot is actually a size 10 in between a D and an E width. So I got these in a size 10 and they fit me pretty much perfectly. If my feet were a little bit wider, I might have some discomfort around this toe box area right here because of the TPU overlay on the sides. I can see why this could be irritating for wide footers. So again, if you have really wide feet, you might want to consider going up a half size. But for narrow, normal, or slightly wide footers, true to size should be okay, assuming you're not wearing very thick Nike Elite socks, for example, which could make the shoe feel a lot more snug width-wise as well. But other than the potential red flag, the overall length of the shoe was perfect true to size, so to me at least, the size 10 was great. Next up, in terms of the comfort, so surprisingly the Air Jordan 23 isn't as heavy as what you would think by just looking at the shoe. That's not to say that it's a very lightweight sneaker. There's definitely a bit of heaviness to the shoe, especially on the bottom. It's much more of a bottom heavy sort of sneaker, but what I'm trying to say is it's not as uncomfortable as you probably think. So the upper of the shoe, assuming you get the sizing right and this portion right here doesn't cause you any discomfort, it feels very snug but in a nice one-to-one way. And the way that you can tighten up the laces, it really hugs the midfoot area of your foot very well, and you feel very locked in and supported. And the underfoot feeling of the shoe, you can really feel that Zoom Air underfoot, especially underneath the forefoot. That's where I could feel it the most. So you can tell that bounce back and responsiveness is definitely there in this shoe. But again, I'm just wearing these casually, and just for casual use, the Air Jordan 23 is going to be perfectly fine. Finally, in terms of the overall quality and the craftsmanship, so the question is this worth that $260 US or 350 Canadian dollars? And I have to say, sort of, but not exactly. I thought that the material quality was pretty good. You can definitely tell that this is more of a premium, high-end Air Jordan sneaker, and pretty much all the materials used on this shoe felt like it was very nice quality. So both this white leather as well as this large overlay on the back. Getting this in hand, I felt very impressed with how these were in real life. But from a build and craftsmanship standpoint, I thought it was lacking a little bit. So one foot of mine came pre-creased straight out of the box, and I noticed when I wore these, the left foot and the right foot, they weren't exactly lining up straight. So some of the panels were stitched a little bit crooked, which is one of those things where it's not the biggest of deals, but once you notice something small, it's something you just can't unsee. So that was kind of annoying. It's not a deal breaker, but I would have expected that this shoe would be free of those kind of flaws considering the high price point that we're paying. So with all that out of the way now, let me toss these on feet. I'll lace them up and I'll show you guys how these look. I know the Air Jordan 23 is not the most popular Air Jordan signature model. It's definitely one of those sneakers that you have to live through the original release to really understand and appreciate. And objectively speaking, even to me, the Jordan 23 isn't the best looking sneaker, and honestly, it's not the most comfortable one either, but that's the danger of nostalgia. But I gotta say, Jordan Brand did a very solid job with this release. I love the colorway of this shoe. It works so well on the silhouette, and the tones of this shoe are just absolutely beautiful. The small touches as well with the contrast gold stitching, the gold eyelets, as well as the special box too. I think all in all, Jordan Brand really executed this pair well, and this is one of the standouts in this Lunar New Year pack, alongside of course, the Air Jordan 1 Low. So let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about this Lunar New Year of the Rabbit Air Jordan 23. What are your overall thoughts on the Jordan 23 as a silhouette? And what are your thoughts on this colorway specifically? For anyone watching, did you also buy a pair of these as well? Is it really not your thing and you passed, or is it the fact that it's not available here in North America that kind of turned you off? Whatever it is, drop a comment down below and let's talk about this shoe. If you guys like this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. You can follow me on Instagram at esco8, check out my Twitter account at sean.go, and visit my website at seango.ca. So until next time, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this review and hopefully it helped you in some way, and I'll catch you guys all in the next one.